Welcome back to another episode of Off the Bench Podcast. Hey, we're going to be talking about the Boston Celtics and Orlando Magic Game 1, with the Boston Celtics end up winning this game by 17 points, taking a 1-0 lead against the Orlando Magic. But before we get into that, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and make sure you hit that comment section below and let me know y'all thoughts and y'all opinions. Comment section. Let's get right into it. Now, Boston Celtics, we know what the Boston Celtics represent. We know they the defending champs. You know, they got their championship pedigree. We know they got experience. They done been through the fire. They're well-connected ball club, one of the best offenses in the league, one of the best defenses in the league. They got Jason Tatum, one of the top NBA players in the whole NBA association and things like that, which, you know, coming out in the first half, which Jason Tatum nor Jaylen Brown really played up to their standards per se, which they still played, you know, a pretty solid game. You know, Jason Tatum only had 17 points. Well, Jason Tatum had 17 points. Jaylen Brown had 16 points. But, you know, before I talk about really like the Celtics, I want to talk about the Orlando Magic. Because like I said, we know what the Celtics is. We know what they represent. We know what they come to do. They was heavily favored in this series. A lot of people don't even give Orlando Magic a chance. They got the Boston Celtics winning this series in 4 games, which I got the Boston Celtics winning this series pretty easily as well. Which that's why I'm gonna talk about them, you know, and briefly in a second, because we know they did what they supposed to do. You know, they came out defended their home court, you know, winning by 17. They started off slow, but you know, as the game progressed on, that experience and that type of, you know, one thing about the Boston Celtics when I watch them is that they got a different gear. So like in that first half, I really, you know, Orlando Magic, they kept it close. They was playing good and things like that. But once the Boston Celtics really turn it on, it's like it's very few teams that can be able to compete with that level of high level of shot making that they possesses. You know, at the 3-point line, you know they're gonna get up a lot of threes, make a lot of threes. And what's underrated about them is that they got a lot of guys that they can throw at you defensively. You know, with Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, KP when he deterring shots at the rim, even Al Horford to an extent. You know, they got bodies out there. They can defend, they can slide their feet, they can guard the point of attack, which can kind of I can't be finding the words, but y'all be know what I'm trying to say. Like, they got a lot of guys who can like stop the point of attack. You know, keep guys from, you know, getting 2 feet from the paint, collapsing the defense. You know, where they can play one-on-one. You can leave Drew Holiday and Derek White and guys like that on the island against, you know, the opposing team best players. And that's kind of what happened in this game. You know, the Boston Celtics, once the second half, you know, they kind of hit their switch and they experienced, and they still started leaning on Orlando Magic, which was too much. Now, from the Orlando Magic standpoint, the Orlando Magic, they need somebody to be able to make the game easier for Paolo and Franz. What I seen today is that everything, you know, obviously with Paolo and Franz being your best 2 players, but the thing is, what I got a problem with, y'all just can't just throw the ball to Paolo and Franz and just expect them to do everything. And that's what I seen from the Orlando Magic today. No, Paolo had 36 points. Franz Wagner had 22 points. I think the next closest guy, let me see. Nobody else had double digits for the Orlando Magic, and that's a problem. Now, if you're gonna do that, you need somebody to be able to dribble penetration and attack the pick and roll. I think that's the missing thing. That's the missing piece that the Orlando Magic need. Cause just throwing it to Paolo and having him do everything. He can't play mate. He can't, you know, obviously he can do those things. But, you know, going up against the Boston Celtics team, it's going to take a collective effort, you know, to be able to, you know, win games and try to make it a competitive series. You know, having 2 guys that's obviously they're going to do their job regardless. But you just can't have Paolo and be like, here, Paolo, save us, or, no, do everything. Somebody else got to be able to attack the pick and roll. Somebody else got to be able to collapse the defense. Somebody else got to be able to create their own shot or create shots for others. Make the game a little bit easier and take a little bit of pressure off Paolo and and Franz Wagner, where they just not having to carry so much of the offensive load, which they already got to, play defense, because the way the Boston Celtics play, they play out the pass. They gonna make you put you in rotations, and you gonna have to be in closeout. You have to be locked in mentally, physically from the start of the tip to the end of the last quarter to hit triple zeros. You heard me? So Orlando Magic, to me, they missing Jalen Suggs. Jalen Suggs, I feel like he's a big part to what the Orlando Magic doing offensively and defensively with them. Corey Joseph, he's a good player, but he's not a starting point guard, especially for a championship level team. No disrespect to Corey Joseph. You played well, you played decently, but the thing is, like I said, just throwing the ball to your best player and just be like, to hell with it, and just have him do whatever, that's not going to win against the Boston Celtics. That's not going to make it competitive against the Boston Celtics. We're going to need somebody else to come on for the ride, somebody to be able to break down the defense without a ball screen, or even with a ball screen. We need somebody to be able to attack pick and rolls, to attack mismatches and things of that nature. The next closest guy for the Orlando Magic had 7 points. What's understood ain't got to be explained. You're not going to win no games like that against the Boston Celtics, where your next closest guy, even with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, not having the best games, but they so deep and they got so much talent where they can be able to afford games like that, because they got other guys that going to be able to pick up the slack. Like today, they had Derek White, Drew Holiday, Peyton Pritchard, which Peyton Pritchard, I ain't going to lie, Peyton Pritchard might be the best white boy in the league. That white boy, he can play on my team any day of the week. I ain't lying, man. That boy can get to the paint. He gonna shoot them threes. He being hard nosed on defensive end, and he got a nice handle, nice footwork. Man, I fuck with Peyton Pritchard, boy. He might be the best white boy in the league. I ain't lying. Like, name me another I'm talking about real white boy. Who talking about? I ain't talking about one of those. I ain't talking about Jokic. I ain't talking about Luka, which they white too, but they come from overseas. I'm talking about real African American white man. Man, Payne Pritchard, best one in the league. He give me those Steve Nash type of vibes. Not saying they game styles is like, but I'm saying like the way they play, like they coming at you. Even though I think Steve Nash might be, international. I don't even think he's really like Native American. So I'll say like he more like Jason Williams on some shit. You feel me? But Payne Pritchard, yeah. Payne Pritchard, he do it all. He a real true dog. I like Payne Pritchard game a lot. Derek White, man, really, I ain't gonna lie. The Celtics team, they a team of light skins. Real talk. Because you gotta think of Jason Tatum, he light skinned as hell. Real light skinned. That man light skinned as hell. Payne Pritchard, white boy, and he gonna get to it. Real life get busy. You got Derek White. I don't know what he is. He might be white. He might be black. I don't know. But he light skinned as hell. You got Kristaps Porzingis. Team of like Sam Hauser. You got Luke Cornett. Man, on the team of the light skins right there. They got 3 dark skins that's holding it down with Jaylen Brown, Al Horford, and Drew Holiday. But outside of them 3, team full of light skins, and them boys, they be hooping though. But the Orlando Magic, you got to get more production from the rest of your teammates. Now, I do want to say this. Paolo, he one of the ones. Now, when y'all talk about up-and-coming superstars and face of the leagues and best players under 26 and under, man, Paolo got to be the 3rd best player. I don't want to hear nothing about no Wemby. I don't want to hear nothing about no Cade Cunningham. I don't want to hear nothing about... It's Luka first. It's Anthony Edwards, then Paolo immediately after. I don't want to hear nobody else talking about... Do not put Paolo in the same conversation with Cade Cunningham and none of these other dudes, respectfully. Not even Ja Morant. Now, Ja Morant, he didn't have good playoff series and things like that, but to me, I ain't lying. I think Paolo might be better than him. Paolo 6'10", can get to the paint. He's progressively getting better with a 3-point shot, with a jump shooting. He showed it full repertoire. And it's going up against one of the best defensive teams in the league with Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown put that man Luka last year in the NBA Finals. He had him in jail. Paolo just gave him that work. I ain't lying. Like, that he showed me a lot in this game. Paolo, huge shout out to Paolo, but you gonna need somebody. We need more than just Franz and Paolo for y'all to be able to make this competitive series. You know, who I'm thinking of? Wendell Carter. You got to be more impactful. Now I understand you had 10 rebounds and things like that. Thing is, you got to make your presence felt. You gotta be some type of paint presence down low. You know, you gotta average at least 12 points. Can you give a 12 and 10? You know, we need some block shots. We need you to do a little bit extra. You know, that's what the playoffs is all about. You gotta do more. You gotta be more than your original self than you was in the regular season. And Paolo, he showed up. Franz Wagner, he showed up to the party. Nobody else, I guess they didn't get an invite. But, hey, but they showed me a lot though. You know, in that first half, they showed me that they got the potential to compete. You know, they got the type of tools to compete. They just need more guys to be able to come along for the ride. You're not just gonna win with 2 guys. I ain't lying. Like, Anthony Black, you gotta do more. Corey Joseph, you played 26 minutes. All you gave me was 2 assists. You gave me no points. You gave me no rebounds. You gave me no steals, no blocks. You gotta do more. That's why I said, like, Jalen Suggs, he missed, because Jalen Suggs, he bring a different type of tenacity and a different type of, you know, look for this Orlando Magic team. Somebody who can be able to, like I said, who can be able to attack closeouts, somebody who can be able to create a shot for his own self, somebody who can be able to put the ball on the floor, and somebody who can stop the point of attack, dribble, penetration. He a real dog on the defensive end. One of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. Before he got hurt, we know about Jalen Suggs. I think he was leading the league in steals. He was up there before he got injured. We haven't talked about him, Dyson Daniels, Evan Mobley, Draymond Green being the defensive player of the year. That's how impactful he was on the defensive side of the ball. He gonna be, you know, well missing this series, because Corey Joseph, my boy, 0 points. That ain't you looking like Kyle Kuzma. Caldwell Pope, 6 points. You supposed to be the veteran of the team. You done been through the fire. You done been through a championship run with the Denver Nuggets. You can give me 2 threes. That's it, man. That ain't enough. I'm telling you, that ain't enough. Anthony Black, 13 minutes, 3 points. Wendell Carter, you had 13 rebounds, but all you gave me was 4 points in 28 minutes. That's not good enough. All I said, everybody else aside of Paolo and Franz Wagner, it's just not good enough. And that's what it really came down to. Now, I ain't gonna say too much, because, like, you know, as teams start getting eliminated and things like that, we'll talk about, you know, off-season improvements and what I think they need and this and that. But all I'm saying right now, Jalen Suggs, he's gonna be missing this series, because you need somebody else to be able to, you know, take the load off and take the pressure off Franz and Paolo. Because the thing is, you asking Paolo and Franz to bring the ball up court 94 feet against Drew Holiday and against Derek White. Then you asking them to get 30. Then you asking them to rebound. Then you asking them to get the other guys involved. That's putting too much wear and tear on the body. Then you asking them to defend. That's putting too much wear and tear on the body, and that's going eventually it's gonna wear it down by game 2, game 3. It's gonna be too much. Legs gonna be heavy. Legs gonna be shot. But hey, good win by the Boston Celtics though. Shout out to Peyton Pritchard. Shout out Derek White. Shout out Drew Holiday. You know, y'all did what y'all did, defending champs. Ready for game 2. Y'all let me know how y'all think about this game and how y'all think Orlando Magic can be able to, you know, come back and bounce back in game 2. Which, you know, they was really playing fairly well, with Orlando being one of the best teams, you know, running teams off the 3-point line, defending the 3-point line, which they can kind of offset the Celtics being the best 3-point team in the NBA. You know, we seen it in the first half, but like I said, once the second half come, you know, once Boston started turning into their second gear, they flip that switch. You're gonna need somebody other than Paolo to be able to, you know, cause like if you just got Paolo doing everything, y'all just throwing the ball to him. You basically telling Boston we ain't got to worry about the other three guys on the court with y'all. Like, so that's just how I feel about this. How I feel about game one. Who knows how game two gonna be? You know, but obviously you gonna need more production from everybody else. You know, and I'll see y'all next time.